Hello, I'm Jordan, and you're gonna hate this. On this show, we review the well-loved classics and give them the cynical lookover they deserve. Too often than not, we overlook some pretty ridiculous things in great movies because of how much we like the movies as a whole, or perhaps some sort of nostalgic loyalty, or even because we don't notice. Our goal is to find these hidden flaws and bring them to light. Because can you honestly say you love something if you intentionally ignore its flaws? Well, let's get started with one of the greatest movies of all time. That's right, angry internet mobs. Sharpen your pitchforks and prep your rage comments because we're starting with Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Let's see what we can find.
After a rather clever Paramount logo transition, the first real thing we see is Peruvian Stan Marsh peeing his pants at the side of a couple of bats. I'm not sure if the point of this was to be scary or show a sense of danger, but it accomplishes neither. Peruvian Stan runs off and is never seen again. Now we're introduced to Indy's tour guide and he's Dr. Octavius from Spider-Man 2? Seriously, Doc Ock is this guy's tour guide.
Really? Shame, Alfred Molina, shame. This was his first movie, and he's just as creepy, awkward, and weird in this as he was in Spider-Man 2.
Doc Ock rushes forward to excitedly taste a poison dart. I have no clue as to why. He clearly knows exactly what it is because he identifies the dart before he shoves poison in his mouth. Unfortunately, he spits it out and declares the dart to be 3 days old, because apparently this guy has a PhD in poison taste dating. He says that the Javitos are following them, which makes the presence of the dart 3 days ahead of their location absurd. Indy's other tour guide, who looks suspiciously like Earl Bassett from Tremors, tries to shoot Indy, but he uses his trusty whip to take the gun from him. Earl runs off, and Indy has absolutely zero reason to regret this decision, right?
We've just now set a precedent for our hero that shapes his overall philosophy.
When a problem comes along, you must whip it before the cream sets up too long. You must whip it when something's going wrong. You must whip it. Now whip it into shape. To whip it good.
Our hero is finally introduced, and it's Tom Selleck? What in God's name am I talking about?
Tom Selleck was the original choice to play Indiana Jones, as George Lucas didn't want to have Harrison Ford in every one of his movies. If you don't believe me, here's a screen test.
Look, I did what I did. I don't expect you to be happy about it. But maybe it can do us both some good.
Why start
Just
now?
shut up. Shut up and listen to me. Now, I need that piece your father had.
It's one of those weird things in that, while it actually kind of works, your brain would explode if they made the change now. Luckily for Indy fans and Selleck's glorious mustache, Magnum PI was greenlit, Tom's contract was scooped up, and we were given Harrison Ford. Long live Indy.
Indy finds the location he's searching for, a mere 10 feet from where he checked his map. Not really necessary when you can just go, oh, there it is. Here Indy decides to load a pouch with sand without any explanation. We of course know he's doing this for the big idol switch coming up, so he put 5 quick handfuls of sand in his pouch without any possible foreknowledge that this type of trap was waiting for him, or the weight of the idol in the first place. He also declares that this is where Forrestal, a rival archaeologist, cashed in.
As he has no way of knowing any of these things, I'll declare Psychic Indy!
Indy brags how great the dead Forrestal was, which apparently meant nothing because he's dead. Doc Ock tells Indy that no one has ever left the temple alive.
If this is true, where did he get the pieces of the map he used to get there? How does Indy know for certain that Forrestal died inside? What booby traps await him? If his coveted treasure lies inside, and for that matter, how do they know that no one's ever made it out alive? Psychic Indy!
Our duo enters the temple and we are shown a few creepy crawlies. Seriously, how does Doc Ock get covered head to toe in spiders in an instant?
What, did he just lie down and roll around in spiders?
Don't worry, these spiders are so polite that a minor nudge inspires them to go elsewhere. See you in Spider-Man! As they explore the cave, Psychic Indy knowingly shows Doc Ock that the temple has motion-detecting beams of light that spring traps.
The hell? Oh, and apparently they reset themselves, which is a pretty convenient feature to have in an ancient booby trap.
Indy has a touching reunion with Forrestal, while Doc Ock plays it cool. Make their way over a pit that will in no means be addressed again. Indy has finally made it into the treasure room and shows Doc Ock a lesson in manners.
What scares me.
You could just say stop. Indy discovers the presence of yet another trap. Gotta love those psychic powers. I'm just gonna say that Indy and Doc Ock get really lucky that the arrow doesn't hit them.
Stay here.
If you insist, senor.
It's now time for one of the best known scenes in cinema history. Not to mention one of the most recognizable moments of this character's existence, the idol scene.
Okay, here's something that bothers the absolute crap out of me. There's no conceivable way for the sandbag switch to be successful the way it's portrayed. Why is that, you ask? Well, because of its greater density, gold is actually heavier than sand, outside of a vacuum. You would need about 3 grams more sand than gold per ounce in order for the weight distribution to stay equal. Basically, Indy's going to need more sand in his bag than the size of the idol.
So what does Indy do with his bag of conveniently pre-filled sand? He dumps more out. He stands there and eyeballs the statue and basically says, this looks about right.
He's already seen the extensive layer of sensitive booby traps leading up to this moment, and yet knowing all of this, decides to give it the old college try. What I don't understand is why couldn't he just put a lot of extra weight in his bag? This isn't exactly the fountain suitcase bomb from Die Hard with a Vengeance.
You pour 1 gallon out of 5 gallons into there, we have exactly 4 gallons in there. Yes!
As we all know, this almost immediately backfires, and you might be thinking that it was maybe just bad luck or slightly off timing.
But based on what we just talked about, there's only one explanation. Indy's a freaking moron. He inexplicably has foreknowledge that this exact booby trap would be in place and somehow knows the composition of the idol in question, but doesn't seem to have an understanding of basic chemistry or physics. This guy is a professor, right? His poor students. Also, the triggering mechanism on this convoluted mousetrap doesn't make any sense. Removing the weight of the idol causes the pedestal to lower. Now, I'm no engineer, but I know how counterbalancing is supposed to work. A removal of weight should actually make the pedestal rise, which would in turn pull on whatever is attached between the pedestal and what's holding back the boulder. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but how hard would it have been to show it the correct way?
All hell breaks loose and our duo tries to escape. Indy falls for the painfully obvious "you first" trick, and Doc Ock runs off with the idol.
No time to argue. Throw me the idol, I throw you the whip. Give me the whip. Adios, senor.
Let's be honest, this wall would have totally closed on him. Yes, you want to build the tension of whether or not he'll make it out, but for goodness sake, don't show the door 75% closed before he even starts climbing out of the pit he's hanging in. He's just barely got out of the pit, and there isn't enough room for him on all fours to fit through. At the rate it was going, a more adequate ending to that moment would look like this.
Goodbye, Benny.
Indy avoids becoming a pancake, and looks like Doc Ock somehow forgot about the deadly beams of light. Indy re-retrieves the idol and outruns a giant meatball, which was apparently on some sort of motion trigger as well.
I don't know who built this temple, but they were clearly ahead of their time. Speaking of the temple, the entire temple with all of the traps and the infamous boulder idol scene was based on 2 Scrooge McDuck comics called The Prize of Pizarro and The 7 Cities of Cibola. Think I'm kidding?
Indy would have done a better job of outrunning that boulder if he hadn't been looking over his shoulder the entire time. Oh good, Indy's safe. Never mind. This isn't going to become some sort of pattern, is it? Guess who's back? Earl Bassett's back to kill you with the time display Savitos Warriors. Guess corporal punishment isn't the most effective strategy, eh, Indy? Don't worry about it, the Javitos took care of the dirty work for you. Now it's time to meet the real villain of our movie, Belloc. Once again, we're given half-assed expositional background that will never have any follow-up. Indy continues his game of hot potato with the idol and makes a run for it. Belloc demonstrates his previously boasted linguistic skills and sends the Javitos after Indy. By the way, am I supposed to ignore Belloc's over-the-top villain laugh? Indy makes a mad dash for his waiting seaplane, which makes his initial jungle trek pointless if he clearly could have just rode in on the plane. And we're treated to another classic scene. Jock clearly has some issues with priorities, as despite seeing this advancing army of bush people, he still debates letting the fish on his hook get away. Aboriginal butt cheeks! Indy finds the most conveniently placed vine and swings out to the plane already in motion. Is it just me, or was Jock taking off regardless of if Indy made it to the plane or not? Indy, swimming for his life, just manages to grab the end of the plane's pontoon as it passes. This doesn't feel like a perfectly orchestrated rescue, just a really lucky moment for Indy. The moment is ruined as Indy discovers a snake in his seat.
There's a big snake in the plane, Jock! Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie!
Jock informs and Indy quips that he hates snakes.
I hate
Snakes killed my parents, man! Jock tells him to have some backbone, which isn't exactly how you want to start off your hero's story, by mocking him for being a wuss. Also, who brings Reggie on a two-seater plane into the middle of the jungle? Indy jumped into that seat rather quickly, and it stands to reason that letting someone jump on top of your pet snake isn't the most responsible thing a pet owner can do.
Indy, Jock, and their big snake sail off romantically into the sunset, and it's finally time for the rest of the movie.
Neo, meaning new and lithic.
We cut to Made-Up University, where we're introduced to Dr. Jones.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones.
No!
Apparently teaching archaeology is what Indy does when he isn't being chased by crazed natives.
Something about this double life is both completely obvious, yet simultaneously absurd. It'd be like Batman teaching a course about starting a neighborhood watch. Would totally attend that class.
It doesn't bode well that Indy, the teacher, can't seem to remember how to spell Neolithic. Teaching is supposedly what he does for the majority of his time. Indy finishes up a lesson with his class, which is practically an all-girls school, when Marcus Brody steps in to speak with him. Indy continues unimpeded by this interruption, but falters at the odd display of affection from what appears to be a lovesick freshman. There's something about this that just doesn't sit well with me, but we'll get to that later. The bell cuts off Indy and class is dismissed.
Any questions then? No, okay, that's it for the day then.
So he's an active professor at this college, and even has office hours. When the hell does he find time to go out on these adventures? Is this what he's doing on the weekends when everyone else is grilling burgers and watching the game? Seriously though, his teaching assistant must get a lot of work.
We're given the first of many references to the Nameless Museum. Brody gets Indy's attention when he tells him that the people waiting for him are from Army intelligence. Indy's timid persona shows as he whines.
What do I want to see them for? What am I, in trouble?
Dude, you're Indiana freaking Jones. Why do you even care? Honestly, Jock had it right.
Come on, show a little backbone, will ya?
When you compare Dr. Jones with the Indiana Jones we met in the jungles of South America, there's a clear difference. Indy appears just to be a split personality of the wet blanket Dr. Jones. Or it's as if Indy was created to compensate for a lack of masculinity or confidence. It's like he has daddy issues or something. I'm sure it won't come up later or anything, right?
That's on the subject.
Indy meets with the army men and they begin to grill him about Abner Ravenwood, Indy's old mentor. Porky Pig gives us some exposition on Hitler's obsession with the occult, and Bowtie tells Indy that they intercepted a Nazi communique that says,
Maybe you can. Tanis development proceeding. Acquire headpiece, staff of Ra, Abner Ravenwood, U.S.
I'm sorry, but who cast this man and why does he sound so angry? I'm reading off of a script. My emphasis is not appropriate for this conversation. So it would appear that the Nazis have discovered Tanis, and in case you, like most people, didn't know about Tanis, Indy helpfully adds,
Well, the city of Tanis is one of the possible resting places of the Lost Ark.
The Lost Ark.
Yeah, the Ark of the Covenant, the chest the Hebrews used to carry around the Ten Commandments.
What do you mean, Commandments? You're talking about the 10 Commandments?
no, the other 10 Commandments. At least they take a stab at this bit of ignorance.
You guys ever go to Sunday school?
Well,
Oh, look. The Hebrews took the broken pieces and put them in the Ark. When they settled in Canaan, they put the Ark in a place called the Temple of Solomon
In Jerusalem.
where it stayed for many years, until all of a sudden, whoosh, is gone.
Where?
What part of Lost Ark don't you get?
Porky Pig cast doubt on Abner's loyalty because
American being mentioned so prominently in a secret Nazi cable.
So he's suspicious because he's prominently mentioned in a secret communique that you intercepted. Yeah, prominent.
well, what did the Nazis want him for then?
Good question, Indy.
Well, obviously, the Nazis are looking for the headpiece to the staff of Ra, and they think Abner's got it.
What exactly is a headpiece to the staff of Ra?
Well, the staff is just a stick, I don't know, about this big. Nobody really knows for sure how high, and it's capped with an elaborate headpiece in the shape of the sun, with a crystal in the center. And what you did was you take the staff to a special room in Tanis, a map room with a miniature of the city all laid out on the floor. And if you put the staff in a certain place at a certain time of day, the sun shone through here and made a beam that came down on the floor here and gave you the exact location of the Well of the Souls.
Where the Ark of the Covenant was kept, right?
Which is exactly what the Nazis are looking for.
There's something weird about how he starts telling them that the Egyptian pharaoh might have taken it, and it might have been brought to Tanis, and it might be in the Well of Souls, and that while Abner is the definite expert on Tanis, he never saw or found the city, but then goes on to say, this is exactly where the Ark is, and exactly how you find it. Sure glad that telegraph cleared things up for you.
What does this Ark look like?
Indy points them to the most conveniently available book possible. Now if you notice, Indy grabbed that book when they left his classroom and puts it on the table when he meets the army men. He had no way of knowing what they were there for or what would be discussed, but he just so happens to grab a book with a picture of the Ark in it and brings it with him. Whoever staged this was lazy.
Good God.
Yes, that's just what the Hebrews thought.
Now what's that supposed to be coming out of there?
Are you retarded? It's a drawing in a book, you idiot.
Brody gives them the important information on the Ark and its destructive capabilities, and if you ask me, these army men are way too excited about this.
The army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
Obviously, we've come to the right men.
They claim during the whole movie that they only want to find the Ark to protect the world from Hitler getting his hands on it, but they enviously drool like fat kids when they hear about its power. I'm sure it won't come up later.
Brody visits Indy at his house that night to deliver the good news.
You did it, didn't you? They want you to go for it.
And the museum? The museum gets the Ark when we're finished.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm sure. Brody warns Indy about how dangerous the Ark is, and Indy channels his inner Han.
Kid, I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other. I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but I've never seen anything to make me believe there's one all-powerful force controlling everything. There's no mystical energy field controls my destiny. It's all a lot of simple tricks and nonsense.
I think I know where to start.
Andy decides to locate Abner first as he packs his suitcase full of a jacket, a whip, and, because he's a cautious man, he throws a loaded gun across the room into it.
How is he not dead yet? Is it weird to anyone else that all he packs are pieces of his signature outfit that he wears the entire movie? He wears all of this on his person. Why is it going in a suitcase? When do we ever see this suitcase again? That's the real mystery here. What adventures does this useless piece of luggage go on? What treasures will it find, or what women will it woo?
Alas, we're stuck with Indy as he boards a plane for God knows where. Someone tell me how in 1936 no one notices the Nazi skulking around the plane and following Indy. As a matter of fact, how the heck did he even make it into the country in the first place? Heck, how did the Nazis know that the army would find out about Tanis and that they would then hire Jones, who would then be on this exact plane and who is going to exactly where they need to find the headpiece of the Staff of Ra? If the Nazis were really that good, we'd all be dancing to polka and eating sauerkraut right now. We now see the famous map traveling shot, which when I first saw it was clever and interesting. But looking back on it now, it feels pointless when the movie didn't bother with this for Indy coming to or going from South America. Honestly, if we saw this transition today, we'd think it was cheap and lazy. It's a good thing this won't become a staple of the series. It does? Crap. We now move on to a dive bar in Nepal ran by the aforementioned Marion Ravenwood, Abner's daughter. Marion's in the middle of a drinking contest with... Oh God! What is that thing? Is it a man? An ugly woman? Some sort of Sasquatch? Well, whatever it is, it can't hold its liquor. Marion wins the contest, and it turns out she was using a drunk version of the rope-a-dope. Indy enters in a cool, sure-to-be-abused silhouette, and is greeted warmly.
I need one of the pieces your father collected.
Don't worry, I get the same when I go visit my parents. So Marion's bitter, but why? Marion and Indy apparently had a pedophilic relationship. According to the movie's novelization, their relationship started while Indy studied under Marion's father, Dr. Abner Ravenwood. Marion was still only 14 years old when the relationship began. Jones left the Ravenwoods in 1926, which meant that Marion was about 16 or 17 years old at the end of the relationship. Jones was 27 at the time, making him at least 10 years older than her and 24 years old when they first got together. When Marion yells at Indy,
I was a child. I was in love. It was wrong and you knew it.
she's not being facetious or just saying that they were young and naive. She means it literally. She was taken advantage of and emotionally damaged, and it has affected the rest of her life. Indy still isn't fazed by this and just says,
You knew what you were doing.
I'm 27 now, and the thought of having been in a sexual relationship with a 16-year-old is disturbing. Kind of reminds me of that nutjob Courtney Stodden. Ugh. I guess this uncomfortableness is remedied by the fact that they end up getting married and having mutt. But still, I can't shake this creepy vibe I get from Indy now. You may think, Indy was young too, and he must have really loved her, and that's how you could write that situation off, right? Wrong.
Remember Love You Eyes earlier? While it was edited out of the final cut of the movie, it was filmed that when Indy answered the door in his robe that he had just been sleeping with Love You Eyes.
Okay, that girl is no older than 18, and Indy's about 37, 38 at this point. The hell? Did he not learn his lesson last time? Lucas cut this portion out of the film because he didn't want Indy to appear to be a playboy. A pedophile, sure, but not a playboy. Remember how I said there was something that didn't sit right with me about the scene? Look at it again.
Here's Indy teaching an archaeology class that is 95% filled with young women. Not just young women, but young women fawning over him. And when Indy sees one of them express this fawning further than just longing stares, what does he do? He does a double take, doesn't admonish her for her childish behavior, and sleeps with her.
That's not okay. This basically establishes that Indy's class is only full because the girls want to stare at a hunky professor, and Indy's only really interested in the job because he wants to sleep with these doe-eyed, naive girls. It's freaking deplorable. Moving on.
Indy asks Marion about the headpiece by describing it in great detail, which is odd when they later say that there were no copies or drawings or descriptions of the headpiece, and Indy hadn't talked to Abner in a decade. Marion says she knows what he's talking about, but her father is dead. Marion is still clearly affected by Jones and laments about her lost life. Indy says,
Marion, I'm sorry.
Do you know what you did to me in my life?
I can only say I'm sorry so many times.
seems like with the one you just said, that makes 1.
Well, say it again anyway.
Sorry.
2. Indy asks for the headpiece again, and Marion tells him that she doesn't remember where it is. He offers her a total of $5,000 for it, which now would be about $85,000. Marion taunts him by telling him to come back tomorrow without promising him that she'll cooperate. After he leaves, Marion reveals that she's been wearing the headpiece the entire time and casually sets this highly sought-after artifact on the table in plain view of all. Literally less than a minute after Jones leaves, a foreboding group of men enters the bar. They are led by the Nazi who tailed Jones on the plane. Did they literally wait pressed against the wall outside the bar like the gang from Scooby-Doo until he left?
Bar's closed.
We are not thirsty.
We are not thirsty. The hell is wrong with you? Are you cold? Are you happy? Horny? Did that other Nazi tell you a really funny joke before you walked in? What?
Surprise, surprise, the Nazis want the headpiece from Marion. Her response? Man, that is one weird villain. Tot sixes goons on Marion, and she responds with,
Take your lousy hands off!
Has that ever worked? Seriously, in the history of violent crimes, has a polite request ever worked? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you weren't on board for this.
If you notice he's just resting his hand on her face, that's more bad touch than menacing. The drama builds as Tot reveals that the Nazis aren't really nice people when it comes to getting what they want. Marion offers to cooperate and Tot insists on being one heck of a creeper. I love that he's so focused on being a torturous Nazi that he completely ignores the headpiece sitting on the table next to him. What an idiot. Indy enters to save the day as he starts a fire that burns Marion's bar down? Way to help, man. Anyways, before that happens, we're treated to one really long bar shootout as Jones proves just how hard he is to kill. She's a drunk. Did that guy have magnesium in his hair or something? Back to the unnecessarily long bar fight. Finally, someone has the sense to say, shoot the hero. I'm sure he's rewarded for this forward-thinking act of villainy. Never mind.
What is that? That's a punch? That's a very distinct sound. Will we ever hear it again? And every one of those the exact same sound effect? It's not even what a punch sounds like. It sounds like... All I can imagine when I think of how a punch sounds now is this freaking sound effect. Damn you!
So Marion saves Indy by shooting the last grunt, and she shows a little more common sense when dealing with a superheated headpiece.
Seriously?
They escape the bar, and Miriam proclaims that since she's out the $5,000, that she'll just have to accompany Jones as his partner.
My $5,000, you're gonna get more than you bargained for! I'm your goddamn partner!
Wait, why is she out $5,000? So what? Some of it burned in the bar. The museum and the army would gladly cough that money right back up for the headpiece. And she never agreed to his terms, so she could have left. Heck, why wouldn't Indy just take the headpiece and leave? Why take Marion deep into Nazi-heavy Egypt? Well, obviously, they're just both thinking with their crotches, so we continue.
Flying map! Already tired of it. Well, the duo lands in Cairo, where we meet Gimli. Actually, it's Sala, but seriously, this is John Rhys Davies who went on to play Gimli. There's a lot of nerd in this movie. We see Gimli's plethora of kids and his wife.
What is this? Where did this animal come from?
What is this woman like on a daily basis? What time is it? Why is the sky blue? I only have one inflection.
Cute. What an adorable creature. Then it shall be welcome in our house.
They decided to keep the monkey because she was being polite. Sala was hired to help with the expedition, and he's Indy's in to reaching Tanis. Oh, and Belloc's there. Fancy that. One, the Ark is bad warning later.
Death has always surrounded it. It is not of this earth.
He's a smart little thing.
Indy and Marion are off to the market. Their monkey runs off.
Hey!
We see that it's a spy for a one-eyed man. Really? And he's a Nazi. Really? Once again, a group of henchmen are given silent orders that are instantly understood. Either that or the Nazis mastered telepathy. Ignorant to the fact that the Nazis and Nazi monkeys are spying on them, Indy and Marion stroll through the market remembering the good old pedophilic days. Marion says that Abner loved him like a son and that something big must have come between them to cause their falling out. And Indy replies,
Not much, just you.
So when Indy told the army men that he and Abner had
A bit of a falling out, I'm afraid.
what he meant to say was that he destroyed a relationship with the man who trained him and was like a second father to him by sleeping with his 14-year-old daughter. I wouldn't call that a bit of a falling out. I'd call it an episode of Dateline. Just shows once again how little this phases Indy. Classy.
Instead of exploring this issue further, the telepathic henchmen attack. Marion is seriously retarded in this fight. Indy yells at her to leave and she just stands there as he deals with the henchies. Indy once again tries to get Marion to safety, but it formulaically fails. Marion faces off against a knife-wielding henchman with a frying pan and realizes just how stupid that is. Until she attacks him with a frying pan. Alzheimer's? On her quest to mimic every cartoon she's seen, Marion tries to hide in a basket. Can't see any possible downside to this plan, can you? Surprisingly, the plan looks like it'll work until the Nazi monkey sells her out.
This monkey is the most effective character in this entire movie. You know, the monkey sounds really familiar. Man, where else have I seen a monkey that can be so capable and have such character? Same guy! Harrison Ford was too sick to do the scripted whip fight, and after a few takes suggested, props.
You can't do this to me. I'm an American.
These henchmen can bend time and space. So you're chasing after your girlfriend who's stuck in a basket in an Egyptian market. What's the most obvious thing that could happen? Ding! I still think it'd be hilarious if Marion was in the baskets he knocked down. That would really hurt. I have to admit, the sound of Marion's muffled screams crossing the frame are pretty funny. Indy catches up to the goobs in time for Marion to be placed in the back of the Nazi ammunition truck. They're not gonna... Huh. Well then.
Marion.
Indy's taking all of this pretty well. He should totally kill that monkey. Oh look! Belloc wants to talk. Indy wants to kill Belloc, but he's so drunk he's probably seeing four of them.
How odd that it should end this way for us after so many stimulating encounters.
Hell, he doesn't even face Belloc for most of this
The
scene.
new adversary so close to my own level.
Try the local sewer.
Belloc gives him the old "we aren't so different" speech.
You and I are very much alike. archaeology is our religion. Yet we have both fallen from the pure faith. Our methods have not differed as much as you pretend. I am a shadowy reflection of you. It will take only a nudge to make you like me, to push you out of the light.
Why does that sound so familiar?
It wasn't hard. See, madness, as you know, is like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
Well, Indy still wants to kill Belloc, but it's okay because Belloc's goons are planning on killing him too. How will Indy escape this impossible situation? What part of his cunning and skill will he have to use to survive? None, as he's rescued by... kids? Lots of kids. Wait, these are Salah's kids! Wow, father of the freaking year over here.
Better than the United States Marines, eh?
Screw you. For some reason, the crowd of men ready to kill Indy just a moment ago are completely satisfied with following him out and standing around laughing. Salah takes Indy to see a man about translating the writing on the headpiece, while Patches poisons some dates.
In the center, the Frenchman had embedded a crystal and surrounding...
Somehow Belloc has a duplicate of one side of the headpiece and is already digging for the Ark. Eat it! Yay, another Ark warning!
This is a warning not to disturb the Ark of the Covenant.
What else does it say?
The height of the staff, though. Did Belloc get it off of here?
Yes, it is here. This was the old way. This means 6 kadam high.
About 72 inches.
Wait! And take back 1 kadam to honor the Hebrew God whose ark this is.
So they're digging in the wrong place? They're digging in the wrong place. They're digging in the wrong place.
You said their headpiece only had markings on one side. You absolutely sure?
They're digging in the wrong place.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Thank you already!
I am the monarch of the sea. I am the...
Eat it! Well, he doesn't, because the monkey already ate a poison date and died. Monkey! In case you were wondering what a date was, let's let this old filler line clear it up for you.
What's this?
It's a date. You eat them.
The Führer is not a patient man. He demands constant reports.
Nazis are impatient? Who knew? Indy and Salah head for the map room in order to find the real location of the Well of Souls, and how does nobody notice them? Seriously. Indy enters the map room and approaches the scale model of Tanis. Well, the Nazis finally notice Salah, but are still too dense to realize that the guy dangling a rope into the special chamber that their leaders just discovered and used a day before is probably up to no good. Indy translates a slab that tells him which of the hundreds of holes to place the rod in to find the Ark's location. This means that the entire purpose of the map room is for finding the location of the Ark. If no one knew for certain if the Ark was taken by Pharaoh and taken here in this elaborate method to find its location, not to mention that no one knew where Tanis was before this, then how are we here? Lazy. This also means that even if Belloc had the whole headpiece, he'd still be digging in the wrong spot because no one had used the specific rod hole that Indy translates to use. Time to find the Ark. Indy could really burn some ants with that thing. So as he leaves, Indy breaks the staff in two with the purpose of preventing anyone else from ascertaining the Ark's location. There's two problems with that strategy. One, if they did find the staff, they could just piece it right back together and they'd be fine. Two, he's digging in the exact same camp as this massive group of Nazis and thinks that they won't see him? There's no way they're that oblivious. Well, apparently they are, because the guards also don't notice when the man they ran off from the secretive location returns to that location with a makeshift Nazi flag rope. Master race? I have my doubts.
Indy goes off looking for God knows what in a random tent when he finds Marion?
She's alive? No. She's alive? What is she, Harry Houdini? We see her get loaded on the truck. There's no mix-up, there's no handoff. Nothing is shown except her getting loaded on the truck and then the truck exploding. What the hell? I get trying to build the moment, but this is freaking asinine.
Well, I'm coming with you.
Anyways, instead of freeing Courtney Stodden, Indy decides to leave her where she is so he can find the Ark undisturbed by Nazis.
Get me out of here. Come on, Charles, are you crazy?
Bravo, sir, bravo. When we learned how you were a raging pedophile, I didn't think you could stoop any lower. But no, you risked the safety of the woman you love and thought died because of you in order to dig up the Ark. You are something. Ooh, guess who's here?
Indy and his team make it to the location of the Well of the Souls, and it's time for them to dig. Thankfully, we gloss over the majority of the digging for this brief shadow shot of Indy changing clothes?
What does he think he's doing? He's in the middle of a Nazi archaeology camp and trying to remain hidden while he has a group of men digging on an easily viewable hill in a location where no one's supposed to be. He tops it off by changing into his extremely recognizable costume in full view of anyone watching. Can he not explore an archaeological find without his costume? What's his plan for leaving with the Ark? Excuse me, I'm an American and I seem to be lost in the desert. Can you give me and this mysteriously heavy and guarded box a ride home? Thanks!
Anyhow, the men finally clear out the entrance to the Well of the Souls.
Indy, why does the floor move?
Why does the floor move? Well, if you selected Pointless Tension Device, then ding, you are correct. It's snakes. Lots of snakes. Indy, how do you feel about this?
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Do you want to try that read again? You sound sleepy. You know what though? That is a good question. Why did it have to be snakes? Sala identifies the snakes as Egyptian asps, which, if you didn't know, don't live in the desert. Egyptian asps live in areas that are dry to moist with some vegetation, such as the savanna or semi-desert areas. Huh. Well, could they have just been trapped there for 2,000 years? Nope. Their lifespan is about 20 to 30 years, and the city of Tanis was
consumed by the desert
for 2,000 years, and the Well of Souls was sealed up tight until Indy arrived. For good measure, these snakes don't live underground, not to be confused with living in a den. So basically, Lucas and Spielberg thought, wouldn't it be cool if we took this big, tough adventurer, made him afraid of snakes, and then put him in a room full of snakes?
We cut to immortal Marion as she's brought before Belloc. Belloc, being a cruel, cruel man, feeds her dinner.
I must apologize for their treatment of you.
Yeah, who told you it wasn't? No food, no water. What kind of people are these friends of yours?
I get that Marion is supposed to be a little rough around the edges, but close your damn mouth!
Even in this part of the world, we are not entirely uncivilized.
Beautiful.
I would very much like to see you in it.
I bet you would.
Belloc then presents Marion with a pretty dress.
But I don't want to be a pirate!
And while it's never directly stated, and it should have been, Belloc is clearly buttering and liquoring up Marion for a little more than just information. I think it would have been a more creative and interesting choice if he had succeeded and had slept with Marion. Indy had just emotionally rebounded when he discovered that not only is Marion still alive, but more importantly that he didn't kill her. Imagine then that Belloc informs him that he slept with Marion.
Again, we see there is nothing you can possess which I cannot take away.
That would add some nice tension and emotional gravitas to their relationships.
Indy drops into the Well of Souls and has some FaceTime with some Egyptian asps, who are just as curious to what he's doing there as he is they. Indy devises a plan to use fire to clear a path to the Ark, which, while clever, did pose a problem.
When they shot the scene, it turned out that the snakes were actually attracted to the fire. They wanted to warm themselves up, which, while it probably made shooting the scene tough, it once again begs the question,
why did it have to be snakes?
So Belloc and Marion start drinking and... Wait.
Did Spielberg just turn alcoholic into an asset? Surprise move from the family man.
Sala and Indy open the stone and... hold up.
Hold up. If Sala was coming down anyways, why didn't he go first to clear a path instead of the guy who pees himself at the sight of snakes? Was it because Sala is such a family man that he couldn't be risked? I doubt that. Heck, if his kids were there, I'm sure he would have just chucked one of them in head first.
Better than the United States Marines, eh?
Before we can see what they found, we're brought back to Super Drunk and her impregnable iron belly. Belloc is drunk under the table, Marion has a chance to escape, and she tries to kill him.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Too bad this decision was never established in her character, or I'd actually root for her.
Marion makes the classic anime mistake of preemptively announcing her attack and is grabbed from behind.
You could have just waited till he passed out and left, or have even let him seduce you to survive. But no, murder's the winner.
Yay! Tot's back!
We meet again, Fräulein. You Americans, you're all the same. Always overdressing for the wrong occasions.
Of all the complaints, that's the one you go with. I'm sure we can look forward to some professional, non-creepy acting. Damn it.
Now, what shall we talk about?
How about your acting?
They finally got it! The Ark of the Covenant! Well, that's it. Movie's over. Thanks for coming. Oh, there's more? I know all these workers are probably sleeping, but considering these are Nazis, it looks more like, well, you know.
A bulldozer to find the China Cup. Cannon, we come in.
Now you notice? Not hours ago, now. Seriously, people in this movie are really dense.
So just as Sala and the Ark are raised out of the well, the rope drops and we see that Indy's crew are besieged by Nazis. Who would have thought this possible? Belloc taunts Jones with another "yours is mine" bit.
So once again, Jones, what was briefly yours is now mine.
And tells him that he will be sealing him inside. The Nazis perform a double cross on Belloc and throw Marion into the well as well.
Stop it!
Indiana Jones, adieu.
Where'd you get this? From him?
I was trying to escape. No thanks to you.
How hard were you trying?
You see that? Indy's jealous that they were just spending time together. If only Belloc had actually sealed the deal. Frenchie. Wasted opportunities of coital revenge aside, Belloc did seem to have a genuine interest in Marion, as he tried somewhat to protect her from the Nazis and snakes.
Indy decides to knock over a massive statue in order to bring down what he thinks is a fragile wall. Leave her behind. Seriously. They find some sort of hallway that leads straight outside. And right next to the plane that'll be transporting the Ark. Well, isn't that just convenient and impossible? Indy tries to take down the crew of the plane so that they can take their place, and it draws the attention of the buffest Nazi ever. Andy seems like he's drunk during this entire fight scene, and Marion finally amounts to some use.
How does the fight end? Long story short,
It turns out that the plane is now a ticking time bomb, so to speak, and Indy and Marion escape just in the nick of time.
Holy smoke, my friends! I'm so pleased you're not dead!
Sala? How the hell is he not dead? The last time we saw him, he was being held by Nazis in the execution stance while they were leaving Indian and Marion to their deaths. Did the Nazis' hearts grow 3 sizes that day or something?
We have no time.
With the plane destroyed, the Ark is being loaded onto a truck heading for Cairo.
Truck? What truck?
That truck. What's Indy's plan?
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
So are Lucas and Spielberg.
Indy manages to catch the convoy with his 1 horsepower, and we get some Indiana Jones one-man army. This whole scene is filled with enjoyable action and comedy that will soon be ripped off all over the place. Indy gains control of the truck and does his best to outrun the Nazis. I like that it took these guys in the back here this long to realize that something was going wrong. What were they used to before this? Behold the deadly trees! Super Nazi comes in and kicks Indy's ass. Indy ends up truck surfing. Another round of hot truck potato. How ridiculous is this death? Indy manages to escape with the Ark and makes it to Cairo. Sala arranges for a boat captained by Katanga and bids them goodbye.
Goodbye.
Look after each other. I am already missing you.
You're my good friend.
Sorry. That is for fire. That is for your children, and this is for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slapstick!
What'd you say?
It's nice to see a hero deal with the repercussions of his heroics, even if it's just physical. One pretty good "where does it hurt" scene later, and they've made up. The Ark magically rids itself of Nazi ownership, and once again the Nazis have caught up to Jones.
Once again, the Nazis take the Ark, and Belloc takes Marion. Do I even need to bother?
Again, we see there is nothing you can possess which I cannot take away.
How exactly he had the strength and stealth to get on and in that sub is beyond me, but it's pretty cool.
Wo ist dein Hemd? Wasch dich mal, damit du nicht aussiehst wie ein Schwein bei deinem Standgericht. Steh auf!
Jones steals a Nazi uniform, and Belloc makes plans to open the Ark where they are.
The altar has been prepared in accordance with your radio instructions, sir. Good. Take the Ark there immediately.
Monsieur,
Notice the obligatory Jewish reference.
I am uncomfortable with the thought of this Jewish ritual. Are you sure it's necessary?
They threw this in the last minute when they realized they hadn't mentioned the Nazis' hatred of Jews or any references to their treatment of them in the movie. I'm not even joking, that's what happened.
Tot, Belloc, and their men begin their trek to bring the Ark to their, I don't know, ceremony site? Indy follows in disguise and manages to somehow get his hands on a bazooka. And once again ruins what could have been a good plan by announcing his intentions.
Hello?
People need to learn.
I'm gonna blow up the Ark, Renee.
Your persistence surprises even me. You're gonna give mercenaries a bad name.
What was that? Let's see that again.
Your persistence surprises even me. You're gonna give mercenaries a bad name.
Oh my god, it really did happen.
If you watch Belloc's mouth during this speech, a fly crawls into his mouth and he swallows it without breaking character.
Wow. I don't even have a joke for this, just wow.
This is history.
Jones finally gets his priorities straight as he says he just wants Marion. Belloc calls his bluff, however, knowing his curiosity and love of archaeology will get the best of him. Belloc wins again. Shocker. It's finally time to open the Ark, as Indy and Marion are tied up in the distance and Belloc is... What the hell is he wearing?
He's somehow wearing what appears to be Old Testament priest robes, which begs the question, where did he get them? Is he trying to piss off the Nazis? And is he trying to piss off God?
They brought a film crew for posterity, and the Ark is opened. Well, what's in it? Sand? Well, that's a letdown. Oh, Tot, I love you. I really hope nothing bad happens to you. Oh, something's up. Effects from Ghostbusters kick in, and Indy commands Marion to close her eyes and not look at the Ark.
Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Marion. Don't look at it no matter what happens.
So closing their eyes now protects them. Pretty sure they were watching all of this happen all the way up until the crap hit the fan. But now it's important. Yeah.
We finally see what happens when pop stars don't receive media attention, and I can't wait to see this happen to Bieber. The Ark consumes everyone and everything except, Indy and Marion, who had their eyes closed.
How the hell did he know that? Well, according to the novelization, the writing on the headpiece of the Staff of Ra included a specific warning not to look into the Ark, which is how Indy knew to avoid the same fiery fate that befell his Nazi captors. What's the deal, Lucas? Couldn't afford the 15 seconds it would have taken to deliver that message? Heck, you had the perfect opportunity to do that here.
This is a warning not to disturb the Ark of the Covenant.
Well, the Ark contains its fire and helpfully closes itself and unties them both. Thanks, Ark! We wrap up our story in Washington, D.C. Oh, great. These guys again?
Great service. We thank you. Where is the Ark? I thought we'd settled that. The Ark is somewhere very safe. From whom?
The government lied to them? Shocking!
Has to be researched.
Alright, you all know what's coming.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
Marion cheers Indy up and the Ark is shipped off to the Amazon warehouse with the thousands of unpurchased copies of William Hung's Christmas album. When did the top men show up? Or was it the old guy with the cart? He didn't look very top.
So everything is wrapped up, and that was Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So what did I think of it? Well, despite the evisceration I gave this movie, I love it. Raiders has and always will be one of my favorite movies. It has so many great moments, and there's so much to love about this movie. Sure, it has its flaws, but let's be very honest here. Raiders is not a movie you watch with your head. You watch this movie with your heart and your gut, and you love every minute of it. Well, this has been You're Gonna Hate This. Subscribe and drop us a comment and tell us what popular movies you think deserve the YGHT treatment. We'll see you next time. What did he do? Just lie down and roll around in spiders?